The purpose of this training is to make sure all of our unloaders are grading materials the same across all of our operations. This training will cover the various brown grades seen at our facilities, what they are, how to recognize them, and how to grade them. The information in this guide is what we will use to grade material we receive from suppliers, not how we process and ship the material. As we go through the training, keep in mind that as the person grading it, you essentially have a checkbook for Midwest Fiber. What you grade a material in as is how it will be recorded in the office, and ultimately is how the supplier is paid. This is the hierarchy of brown grades, beginning with the most valuable grades at the top and going down. We keep this in mind when grading a supplier's materials. If they send us banded boxes and we determine them to meet specifications for a new resellable box, that we grade it as such and are comfortable knowing that both the supplier and Midwest Fiber makes money. Knowing this hierarchy can also help you on the processing side when needed to properly mix materials for the best value. You will note here that chipboard has an asterisk. This is because there are times when chipboard values go up and can even be worth more than OCC. For grading purposes on the breakdown sheets, we will still grade it as chipboard, but check with your supervisor for any changes to the way we process chipboard in the plant. In the next section, we will discuss each of these grades and how to determine them. Gaylords are found all over our warehouses and are fairly easy to spot. However, there are some slight differences in Gaylords, and this can affect their values. When grading Gaylords, it can be helpful for the office staff if you notate these differences in cases where Gaylords are a commodity on the unloading sheet. A standard Gaylord box is 48 by 40 by 36 tall and is triple walled. When looking at a Gaylord, you first want to determine how many walls are present. A wall is considered to be 2 solid liner boards with a wavy medium in between. Then, you want to see if it has full flaps, which make a solid bottom when open, or if it has partial flaps that you will need a slip sheet in order to make a solid bottom. Note if it is square or octagonal in shape and if it is extra tall or extra short. Finally, note if it has had any so-called belly cuts made in the side, where a part of the box is missing or compromised. A belly cut is usually made so that it is easier for people to hand load material in the box without lifting anything over their heads. New boxes. To be considered a new sellable box, there are certain size and quality standards that have to be met. You can tell a new box by packaging. One-time use solid boxes have tape on it already, like someone cut the tape open and stacked it on a pallet. Sellable new boxes come bundled with banding all the way around, no tape. The minimum height is 8 inches or over. Width can vary, but it can't be a tall, narrow box. It must be a square moving box or bigger. The top and bottom flaps must close completely, without gaps or overlaps. It cannot have perforations, holes like for handles, a hazmat diamond printed on the box, say hazardous materials, have chemicals or feminine product wording on them. DLK, double-lined kraft. This is basically the trimmings from cutting a cardboard box. They should be unprinted and may not contain staples, tape, or glues. Next is non-poly-lined kraft bags. These consist of brown kraft multi-wall bag waste and sheets, including misprint bags. Poly refers to a plastic liner within the double kraft paper walls. You have to tear it to be able to tell for sure if there is a plastic liner. We often see these from food processors and distributors, used often for flour and sugar, and from agricultural companies, used often for seed bags. Stitch or sewed papers are not acceptable in this grade. These bags must be separated from poly kraft bags and baled separately. OCC, which stands for Old Corrugated Container, is a single wall box which has 2 outer liner boards and a wavy medium in between them. Usually brown, but sometimes white. There is also a lesser quality OCC, which tends to be lighter in color, kind of a tan color, and it is not as rigid. Sometimes it's referred to as foreign or rice board. Kraft paper. This is a paper that is brown. Often it is fairly strong, like a grocery bag, bags that hold powdered cement mix, and the brown bags flour and sugar are packaged in. This can also be thin, like a brown paper lunch bag. Polyline craft bags. These are the same thing as the craft bags we previously discussed, except that between the walls of brown craft paper, there is a layer of plastic. Poly refers to this plastic liner within the double craft paper walls. You have to tear or cut the bag to be able to tell if the poly liner is present. We often see these from food processors and distributors used for flour and sugar, and from agricultural companies used for seed bags. Stitch or sewed papers are not acceptable in this grade. Always grade these on the supplier's breakdown sheet as polyline craft bags. In practice in the plants, we may try to blend these into OCC, but we may get too many and then we will have to sell full truckloads. Refer to your supervisor for current blending processes. Chipboard. Chipboard is a pressed fiber thick paper, usually made from gluing recycled paper together. It is also referred to as paperboard. Chipboard is used for the backing of a notepad, paperboard boxes for food items like snacks and cereal, and the boxes that garbage bags and Ziploc bags come in. It is usually brown or grayish in color. Cores. These are thick paper cores made from chipboard and or linerboard. The roll on the inside of a butt roll of paper is considered a core. This grade can't have any wood plugs, plastic or metal end caps, or other grades of paper included. They typically come in loose, but can also be found in bales of OCC from some suppliers. Lastly, mill wrap. This is a brown paper that resembles craft bags. The difference is that mill wrap has a moisture barrier, as it is generally used to wrap or bundle rolls or skids of finished paper goods. It is usually very thick and typically comes to us in larger sheets. There are other brown grades that are not listed on the hierarchy that we need to be aware of. TMP, thermomolecular pulp. It looks like soft white, but it has chipboard on the other side with a very thin amount of glue in the middle. It looks like soft white, but when you tear it, you can see the glue. It will also turn orange with a groundwood pen, especially if you tear the paper and use the pen on the torn fibers. Graded on the breakdown sheet as TMP. The value is less than OCC, so we will usually process it with OCC in the plant, but refer to your supervisor for current blending processes. SBS, short for solid bleached sulfate, is a virgin grade of paperboard. This will have a coating on it since it has been highly bleached and treated. It can resemble soft white or PMix, but it is actually a groundwood and will turn with a groundwood pen. We can get this in unprinted, or it can come in lightly printed or heavily printed. Grade this as SBS and note if it is blank, lightly printed, or heavily printed on the breakdown sheet. How we process it will depend on the printing, how often, and how much of it we expect to receive. This can be blended in other grades or sold in full truckload quantities. Check with your supervisor before processing. This completes the Brown Grades training. There is a short written quiz that your supervisor may give you as well.